will the clerk please call the roll?
Good morning. Calling the roll for the Tuesday, July 5th Board of Control meeting. It is 11:01. Nan Baker. Dale Miller. Trevor McAleer serving as an alternate for Purnell Jones.
Here.
Melanie Say serving as an alternate for Mike Dever. Mike Chambers serving as an alternate for Armin Budish.
Here.
Lee Tucker serving as an alternate for the fiscal officer.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Next on the agenda here is the review of the minutes of June 27th. I'll make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Lee Tucker. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The minutes are approved. Is there any public comment?
No public comment.
Okay, let's go to our first item.
First item, BC 2022-406, Department of Public Works, submitting an amendment to a contract with Emerald Supply Incorporated for can liners for various county buildings for the period July 22nd, 2019 through June 30th, 2022, to extend the time period to August 15th, 2022, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $18,000.
Good morning, Tom Pavich, Public Works. This first item is just a contract amendment with Emerald Supply. They're a contract provider for our trash can bags, our can liners. It's a short amendment to August 15th of this year with additional funds of $18,000. There were some pre-questions that we did bid this out competitively. Unfortunately, we had one bid that came in that quadrupled the estimated budget. So we're internally re-strategizing a new procurement process in the form of, I think, an RFP that we can do additional negotiation as opposed to a bid. The current provider, the vendor's actually going to be retiring, closing up shop, so she was only willing to do a short-term amendment to get us through a couple more months.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Are there questions from the board? Going to move to approve, and it's second by Mr. Mackler. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The item is approved.
Thank you.
Next item.
Next item, BC 2022-407, Department of Development, recommending a place-based mixed-use loan to 2915 Detroit Avenue LLC in the amount not to exceed $485,000 for the renovation of the former Vitrolite building located at 2915 Detroit Avenue, City of Cleveland, for the creation of 6 new leasable spaces for health and wellness-focused businesses.
Mr. Chairman, board members, Michael May, Economic Development Administrator at the Department of Development. Today we're bringing you a request for an economic development loan from the Harness Collective Organization, which through its 2915 Detroit Ave LLC development and holding company entity, it's proposing to purchase and fully renovate and activate, as the legislation says, the historic Vitrolite building at that same address. Into a main operating complex with new spaces for various businesses in the support and well-being of the Ohio City community in Cleveland. The services will be provided in the health and wellness areas, improving the lives of all residents in the area, in the immediate neighborhood, and those patronizing the businesses in the complex. The tenancy is going to include Harness Cycle, which is an indoor cycling studio, a yoga and dance studio, a food and beverage operator, a flexible office space, an on-site flex childcare center, and a lounge and relaxation spa. So Harness Collective LLC is what is known as an emerging impact real estate operation with the anchor brands of Harness Cycle, which again is an indoor in-person cycling studio, but which is also branched out into digital classes and bike sales and rentals. They also have the Harness Collective co-work and event space, and something called Soul Yoga, a yoga and platform movement studio. There are other in this mix will be several new concepts rooted in well-being and neighborhood activation. They were all complementary retail brands that are women and or minority operated. Harness is owned by FPE business entrepreneur and developer Ann Hartnett, who is here with us today. She's here to answer any very specific questions or company detailed queries that you may have beyond what I can briefly give you for this deal and project. The building's an historic landmark. It's 3 stories, 18,000 square feet. It's notable, really great building. It's for its white architectural terracotta, large arch windows, detailed patterns in tile and structural glass on the skin of the structure. It was a showroom, or it had a showroom in it, constructed for the Chicago-based company that Vitrolite was. They were a pigmented glass maker for that had, again, its operations there, but also a big warehouse for its products. The floors are really very built for heavy use, and so the building is very adaptable in many ways. It's a lovely building. It's currently the home of Inter-Museum Conservation Association, which is a nonprofit providing museum-quality art and historic restoration services that's owned the building for about 20 years. They're slimming down to move to actually just in the neighborhood to the Pivot Center for the Arts on West 25th Street. So the redevelopment of this building is going to create 6 new spaces, leasable spaces for these businesses that I just described, really to further expand on how holistic and community encompassing this project is. The on-site flexible childcare will accommodate area working parents and the patrons and employees of the building's brick and mortar businesses. The office workspace is going to host an accelerator program dedicated to the education and resource pairing for emerging brick and mortar entrepreneurs in the retail, food and beverage, and fitness sectors. The graduates of the program will be prepared with the help of the Harness Network to plan retail business launches in the city, creating, again, well-conceived, locally generated economic development endeavors for growth and jobs in Cuyahoga County. So the facts, the total project cost is $2.88 million. The funding request to us is going to be a not to exceed $485,000, what we call place-based mixed-use development loan from our economic development fund. The county's loan proceeds will be used toward renovation costs, FF&E, and soft costs. The terms of the deal are 15 years, 3% interest. There will be no forgiveness on this loan. It will be subordinate to the primary bank loan from Huntington Bank, and the county will have a shared second lien position with the city of Cleveland on the real estate, as well as an assignment of leases and rents, and a UCC filing on furnishings, fixtures, and equipment. There'll be a personal guarantee from the owner, and the county is also going to get corporate guarantees from the Harness Collective LLC and Harness Cycle LLC. As I said, there are other financiers in this. The primary bank is Huntington, that's making an SBA 504 guaranteed loan in the amount of $1.5 million for the building acquisition, and the city of Cleveland is in this deal on using 2 loan instruments, one a $500,000 loan with a 25-year term from proceeds from its EDA Title IX loan repayments fund. And then they have a second loan in this deal, an economic development loan of $146,000 with a 15-year term. The loan was approved or recommended approval to you during its the Cuyahoga County Community Improvement Corporation, the so-called CCCIC board and loan committee. They heard it on June 9th and are recommending its approval to you at these terms, at that amount. Harness Collective LLC right now has 23 total employees that equates to an FTE of 8 employees, and they have a payroll of about $250,000 right now. The new project is expected to create at least another 79 positions, which equate to 32 full-time equivalents, and increase the payroll to over $2 million within the next 3 years, which is the time period that we require for job creation. And that's a whole myriad of instructors and program managers and coordinators, marketing people, and all of the other things that go along with those various tenancies. The annualized salaries are around $46,000 plus. That's about it for the facts of the project. If you have any questions of me or of Ann Hartnett.
Okay. Well, thank you, Mike. Are there questions from the board? Councilman Miller.
Just wondering whether the cycling is stationary, or do they ride around on an indoor track?
I believe it's stationary, and again, the business owner could really give you all the details on that, but this is stationary biking, and again, it's on-site, but it's also, they have pivoted and sort of got into a whole new market of digital activity with customers so that they can do this virtually as well, and then they've gotten into bike sales and everything well. But the core of it, and Harness Cycle has been alive since 2013, and they were all about indoor, on-site cycling. Did I get that right, Ann?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, great.
And just a comment that you seem to have a collection of positive uses, that you have a recyclable project, and that you're gonna get your money back with interest, and you have good leverage, you have good job creation. I think it's the kind of deal that we're looking for.
We were happy with it, and again, as I said, the loan committee was very pleased with the things that we look at, coverage ratios on cash flow and loan to value and things like that. So it all checked all of our boxes. We should get paid back and again, get many, many jobs out of the scenario.
Are there, yes, Councilwoman, please.
So, tell me the procedure. If this was 15,000 more, it would then be triggered to the Economic Development Committee by council, or would it still go through the CIC board?
It would, well, the rules here are that anything over, so it's $501,000, it automatically triggers over
So if it
council
was-
procedures.
16,000 more, how would this change would it then have to go to the Economic Development Committee? Is
Yes,
that
that's how the system works, right?
Okay, so how did
That's how the
you,
charter works.
how did we determine 485,000 just under the cap?
Well, everything that we do is based on gap financing, and so, again, I know you're familiar, Councilwoman, we're about filling the gap that remains within the context of what other financing they've been pulled together. So we actually were the last people sort of requested, which is the scenario, the thing sequence that we like to see. So they had been working hard with Huntington Bank, who was looking at this thing and underwriting very hard. City of Cleveland coming in, all of that was going on, frankly, before we even got pulled in. So we were, again, in the scenario that we like, and that was basically, we were presented with a gap of $485,000 once all was said and done in the stack.
If I made the gap funding we have had in the Department of, or the Committee for Economic Development, we've had gap funding proposals brought to us in that environment too.
Yes, absolutely. Frankly, 99% of everything we bring to you is a
gap.
gap
Right.
that we're filling after we've seen the stack,
Okay.
after we've seen the uses where money is needed and the sources.
Okay,
That's called the stack, and basically the things, the sources and lenders and financiers that, or governments that are putting into this thing, basically, we try to be that last but for set of dollars.
okay. I guess the only concern I have is that through the Economic Development Committee as a whole, we can look at the project and understand it, and then there's more than just myself and another council member to approve.
Sure.
And it's only 15,000 or 16,000 under the cap. I mean, was the 485,000, that was the requested amount for the gap?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
correct.
So it could have been 450, it could have been 200, it could have been
Yes,
499.
Correct,
Yeah.
correct. And again, it was a happenstance, if you will, that again, everything else had been baked in, and this is what they needed from us.
Okay. Okay, sorry.
Are there additional questions? Mr. Mackler?
Look, so just to recap, they're required to create our 79 positions equivalent to 32 full-time, right, in the next 3 years? If not, they will have.
We have penalties attached. In our loans, we start off with penalties of raising the interest rate. and also kind of declaring default, but there was also language in our loan agreements that basically gives the employer an ability to explain why, maybe job requirements didn't get hit, and to try to sort of figure out whether that's, a reasonable enough argument that we can give them a little more time. I mean, eventually you get to the point where they're in default, and we could institute a foreclosure if they fall
Is
short.
the increase in the interest rate already predetermined as part of the agreement?
Yeah, we have a set, we stick another 3 points on the loan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's what it, okay.
Yeah, it's 3% right now.
Thank you.
Any final questions from the board? Seeing none, then I will make a motion to approve the item. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilman Miller. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? The item is approved.
Thank you.
Next item.
Next item, BC 2022-408, Department of Development, submitting an RFP exemption which will result in a payment to Downtown Cleveland Alliance in the amount not to exceed $30,000 for membership fees for the period July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2023, and recommending the payment in connection with said RFP exemption.
Hi, Laura Sims from the Department of Development. This is an annual membership that we've been doing for the last, at least in the new system, the last 3 years through N4. It is the Downtown Cleveland Alliance aligns with the goals of the Department of Development, in that it tries to bring new businesses into the county, and our corporate membership with them is a good partnership and a good way to continue working with them in an ethical way.
Okay, Laura, thank you. Questions from the board on this item? Seeing no questions, I'll make a motion to approve. Is there a second? Second by Mr. McAleer. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The item is approved. Next item.
Next
Thank you.
item, BC 2022-409, Department of Human Resources, recommending an award and enter into an agreement with Cuyahoga Community College Corporate College Conference Center in the amount not to exceed $3,204.88 for facility space, technology resources, and food services for a corrections officer's job fair held on June 22nd, 2022.
Stephen Wood with Human Resources. This is a request for an agreement with Tri-C for the June 22nd, the June hiring event for corrections officers. This was, again, similar to the May hiring event held at the corporate college in Warrensville Heights. This is coming across the board late, as Tri-C would not provide the updated agreement for June until the agreement for May was approved and settled, which was approved on June 6th of this year. So we didn't receive the documentation from Tri-C until June 8th. And then if you look at the backup documents, our timeline, we put this through as quick as we could, but it ended up being late. We believe we've exhausted the candidates out in that area for now. So we're moving back to the west side for our July hiring event. I believe they're holding it actually in Lorraine County this time to try and expand our horizons and get more candidates. And that agreement should not come across late.
Okay, Stephen, thank you. Questions from the board? Mr. McAleer.
Stephen, do you know how many corrections officers we were able to hire from this event?
Sheba, do you know? I apologize. Our hiring manager is on vacation right now, so I don't have those figures. Sheba may.
Sheba Marshall, Human Resources. We had 97 people attend. We extended offers to 56. We should have the background checks done by the end of this week, and then we'll know how many we're able to hire off of that event.
Okay.
And Stephen, do you know when the July one is in Lorraine
July
County?
25th.
Where's that one at?
They're going to hold it at the Stocker Center at Lorraine County Community College.
Can you email me that information so I can get it to the council members, just so
Absolutely.
I can share it with. Thank you.
Additional questions from the board? Seeing none, then I'll make a motion to approve the item. Is there a second? Second by Mr. McAleer. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? The item is approved. Next item.
Thank you.
Next item, BC 2022-410, Department of Information Technology submitting an RFP exemption which will result in an award recommendation to Gather Content Limited in the amount not to exceed $9,588 for the renewal of Gather Content Legacy Enterprise licenses for the period May 11th, 2022 through May 11th, 2023, and recommending the award in connection with said RFP exemption.
Janelle Green, Department of IT. This RP exemption is a renewal of the services that we have with Gather Content. This is a one-year purchase order. This year marks the first time we've had an increase with this particular vendor, with an increase of 7.3%, which is an increase, the first increase since we implemented this program in 2018. What this program does is to tie together the search functions on old portions of our website and the new portions of our website, making the return results when you run a search on the website easier for people to get to. It is late due to the fact we got the request to renew at a late period of time. Plus, the vendor who is out of the UK it took a long time to get back to us on documents. Whereas US-based companies have W-9s, this has a W-8, and so there's other documents that we had to get that were problematic. And should we need to renew this again, we will start sooner to avoid the tardiness once being presented to you.
Okay, Janelle, thank you. Questions from the board? Councilman Miller.
So you sounded like it was not obvious that we would need to renew this as serving a temporary purpose.
Right, because again, it ties together the search functions from our old websites and our new websites. Well, you can get to everything via cuyahogacounty.us. There are portions that are running on an old content management application and a new one. So this ties together the search functions of both of those portions of the site together to return results from both new and old pages.
And why is there not any company within the United States that can provide this service?
That I do not know. This is something that that our web applications and development team looked at and found that this gave the best results in terms of when we tried to look at functionality and how it operates.
Okay.
Okay, any additional questions on this item from the board? Seeing none, I will make the motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Miller. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item is approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2022-411, Department of Information Technology submitting an RFP exemption which will result in an award recommendation to Logicalis Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $374,235.08 for NetApp storage and related software and accessories, and recommending the award in connection with said RFP exemption.
Janelle Green, Department of IT. This is an RFP exemption for NetApp storage, which is essentially like server arrays to store all the data and files for the county on some of our sites that are in Columbus and locally. This was originally actually bid, that we posted for a formal bid, and that was formal bid number 9457. And Logicalis was the only vendor to submit a proposal for that, but they could not meet all of the DEI requirements. So we brought this forth as an RFP exemption, knowing that we did make an attempt to do a formal bid. And this is using the general fund ARPA dollars. And this also ties into that disaster recovery program that Jeremy Mio mentioned a couple of weeks ago.
Thank you, Janelle. Questions from the board on this item? Seeing none, I will make the motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item is approved.
Thank you.
Next item.
Next item, BC 2022-412, Personnel Review Commission submitting an amendment to a contract with Examity Incorporated for pre-employment testing software and remote proctoring services for the period June 23rd, 2021 through June 22nd, 2022, to extend the time period to June 22nd, 2024, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $50,000.
Good morning, Rebecca Kupczynski for the Personnel Review Commission. We are requesting an amendment to this contract with Examity. They are the provider that we have been using for the past year to do our remote proctoring and testing services for the civil service testing we're required to do. It's been working very well, and this has been approved for ARPA funding, so we are requesting a 2-year extension in the amount of $50,000, and happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. Questions from the board? Seeing no questions, I will make the motion to approve the item. Is there a second? Second by Mr. McAleer. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Thank you.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2022-413, Office of the Medical Examiner, submitting an RFP exemption, which will result in an award recommendation to Thermo Electron North America, LLC, in the amount not to exceed $81,444 for Q Exactive Focus Mass Spectrometer Maintenance Services, commencing upon contract signature of all parties for a period of 2 years, and recommending the award in connection with said RFP exemption.
Hugh Shannon, Medical Examiner's Office. This is the newest piece of detection equipment that we've got for our toxicology lab. The initial maintenance has run out, so we are needing a maintenance contract on this equipment. It's about $400,000, so having the maintenance on it is a prudent step, and it's in our budget.
Thank you, Hugh. Questions from the board? Mr. McAleer?
Is this the vendor that we bought the equipment from, or do we get maintenance from another?
So there's an exemption on it. It was originally going to be sole source. These big national, international companies do have vendors out in the field that are able to do some of the repairs that might be needed. However, when we put our specs together, there were certain deadlines that needed to be met that those kind of regional offices couldn't meet. And Thermo actually came in, the parent company came in cheaper, so we switched it out for the exemption.
Any final questions? Seeing none, I will make a motion to approve the item. Is there a second? Second by Mr. McAleer. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item is approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2022-414, Prosecutor's Office, submitting an RFP exemption, which will result in an award recommendation to Celebrite Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $435,397.47 for the purchase of 6 Universal Forensic Extraction Device 4PC Ultimate Forensic Software licenses and subscription services to decrypt and extract investigative data from mobile devices for the period June 18th, 2022 through June 17th, 2025, and recommending the award in connection with said RFP exemption.
Thank you. David Ferteri with the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force, Cuyahoga County Prosecutor's Office. Also with me is Jim Ginley from our fiscal department. These are actually renewals of licenses that we've held for probably the past 10 or so years. What we're trying to do here is, number one, co-term all of these licenses together over the years. We've kind of piecemealed them together. We're adding 2 licenses from our prosecutor's office as well to bring all 6 of those licenses into the same term, and then also co-term them for a period of 3 years. The largest reason for the increase over what we spent in the past few years is that Celebrite has gone to a different pricing structure where after 20 phones or mobile devices, we now have to pay a per phone price in order to unlock those phones of approximately $1,500 per phone. By going to this unlimited plan for a 3-year period, we save about $80,000 over the course of those 3 years, and it gives us the ability to unlock as many phones as we need to during the course of our investigations. We're averaging about 2,080 devices a year in terms of forensics for the task force. About 200 to 300 of those phones require us to unlock them or extract that data in a locked state. So when you look at the numbers of what it would cost us per phone for 200 or 300 phones, the savings are great when we look at the total cost over that 3-year period.
Okay. Thank you, David. Are there questions from the board? Councilman Miller?
Yes. My question is whether you're able to save any money through the process of reorganizing the way that you handle these licenses and grouping some of them together.
Were we able to save money?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, we're paying a little more per year, but it's also due to the increase in terms of what we can access and what we can get into. As I said, we're saving about $80,000 by doing this on a 3-year basis as opposed to year to year as we've done in the past.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any additional questions from the board? Seeing none, I will make a motion to approve the item. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Lee Tucker. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Thank you.
Next item, BC 2022-415, Sheriff's Department submitting an amendment to an agreement with City of Bedford Heights for lease of the Bedford Heights Jail located at 5661 Perkins Road, Bedford Heights, for the operation of county jail facilities for the period October 1st, 2017 through September 30th, 2027, for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $48,000.
Good morning, Tanisha Gates with the Sheriff's Department. We are requesting approval to amend the current contract with the City of Bedford Heights to add additional funds that would allow transportation of the inmates to the Cuyahoga County Correction Center to continue until May of 2023. There have not been any inmates housed at the Bedford facility since mid-year of 2020.
Thank you, Tanisha. Questions from the board? Yes, Councilwoman, please.
So was the original contract, did it include transportation?
The original contract, I believe, did not include transportation, but we did amend that contract last year, which was presented to the board and approved, I believe, May of 2021 to provide those transportation services at $4,000 per month.
Last year?
Yes.
Okay, so what are you before us now?
To extend that service and increase the funds, an additional $4,000 per year until May of 2023, bringing us to the $48,000.
So if we were paying for inmates, I mean, it just seems like, wouldn't there be a credit because we're not using the facility like we thought?
We're paying for the transportation, and we have been, I believe, I do have Warden Henry here to assist me with this, but I believe we have been utilizing that transportation service since May of 2021, and we did expend those funds that were approved last year. So we're seeking to add additional year of service for that.
Okay. That's all for right now.
Mr. Mackler, please.
So I know this was heavily discussed when this was brought up a year ago too. I understand giving them, the city, an initial incentive or so because we stopped using the facility. But I don't understand how we're doing this for Bedford Heights and not Euclid when we did the same thing in Euclid. So, I mean, do you know, is there a plan? Well, I guess I was under the impression a year ago that we would not be seeing this again. We were gonna do a 1-year transition and we would cover the cost for them to transport the inmates down to the county. But why are we now proposing to do this for another year?
Thank you for the question. I do have Warden Henry here who hopefully may be able to address that.
Thank you.
Good morning, Michelle Henry. I'm the warden at the Correction Center. The reason for the extension is because we have not determined whether or not we are going to go back to using Bedford Heights. At this point, we don't have any plans to move forward with putting inmates back at that facility. So until that term of that current contract is up, right now we're going to have to continue to transport anybody who's arrested from Bedford Heights to the Correction Center.
Thanks, Warden. But is there no we're not able to terminate our agreement with Bedford Heights? I mean, we did it with Euclid. That's why, is there no termination clause?
I can get that answer for you. I'll review it with Administrator Gibson, and I can get that information for you.
Mr. Chair, is it, I mean, I would ask if we could hold this though, because it is, we had this issue with Euclid and we were able to terminate that agreement. And it's the same scenario, right? We were housing inmates in Euclid. I would just ask if we could potentially hold this till we have that answer. I'm just a little confused. We haven't used that Bedford Heights facility in a long time, and we picked to pay for, in essence, one police officer for the city to bring their inmates down here, but we didn't do that for Euclid.
Any reason why we can't hold this for a week? Anything critical?
That's
Okay.
fine. I'll get that information
Thank
for
you,
you, sir.
appreciate that.
Okay, so we're gonna hold, yeah,
As
please.
long as we're doing that. The language reads that it is for the operation of county jail facilities. If anyone were to read that, it doesn't say anything about transportation. So we probably should change that language, or at least add for transportation only, if that is what it is that we're asked to agree and approve.
No problem, thank you.
Okay, so we'll hold and let's get it corrected for the next week. Okay, that's held. Next item?
Next item, BC 2022-416, Sheriff's Department, recommending an award on a purchase order to City of North Royalton in the amount not to exceed $20,000 for prisoner boarding care services for the period July 5th, 2022 through December 31st, 2022.
Tanisha Gates with the Sheriff's Department. We're requesting approval of this not-to-exceed purchase order with the City of North Royalton to provide prisoner boarding care services until December 31st, 2022. The current per diem rate is $135, and this will cover up to 148 days of service. There are currently no inmates in North Royalton, and in May of 2022, they housed 2 inmates. So far for 2022, they have housed 9 inmates, and we have paid a little over $18,000. This is another proactive attempt to have funds pre-approved prior to services being provided.
Thank you, Tanisha. Questions from the board? Mr. Mackler.
Can you talk a little bit about how inmates are decided to go to that facility? I mean, knowing that it was only 2, is it a security concern? Is it?
I believe it's a state code. Their sentencing's under state code, but Associate Warden Henry, Warden Henry will be able to.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question. So basically, we have multiple partnerships with other correction centers and jails so that we can house offenders, whether it be for security reasons, why we can't have them in our facility. It's potentially a risk to their safety or my staff's safety. So we do house them at other facilities. One of the best things that we have come up with is using these facilities to sentence misdemeanants, so they can report directly there and serve just a small sentence, maybe 2 or 3 days. And we've been able to work schedules out with these facilities so that we can pretty much keep those beds filled, reduces our population, and it also helps be a little proactive with COVID, because the amount of people that are coming in and serving very short sentences, it increases our risk of COVID. So it's been a very beneficial partnership. Mm-hmm.
Any final questions from the board?
Mr. Chair, just one comment.
Yeah.
For the record, right, we're paying $135 per day. Is that per diem?
That's what was quoted.
And I know this is an ongoing issue with the city, but we are still charging $99 for the city of Cleveland. Just important fact in terms with the law department negotiating with the city of Cleveland that we're paying $135 to house inmates.
Thank you. That is correct.
Let's make note of that and see what we can do. Okay, thank you.
And that sometimes those additional costs may be if there's medical care that needed, or other things that they're providing. Some of our facilities, they charge us additional for that per diem if there's medical care that's needed, or medications, we have to send those. So it could be in the contract that's why that language is higher.
Okay, thank you. Seeing no further questions, I will make a motion to approve the item. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Mackler. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The item is approved. Moving on.
We're on the consent agenda, items BC 2022-417 through 419.
There's only a couple items here. Does the board have any questions, on any of today's consent agenda items? Okay, seeing none then, I will make a motion to approve today's consent agenda items as listed. Is there a second? Second by Councilman Miller. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Moving on to, the items approved. Moving on to other business.
We do have other business, time-sensitive, mission-critical, item BC 2022-420, Office of the Medical Examiner, recommending an award on a purchase order to ARC Gas and Supply LLC in the amount not to exceed $7,305.10 for the purchase of 10 ultra-high-purity helium gas cylinders.
Hugh Shannon, Medical Examiner's Office. You may recall 2 meetings ago, we did have an item on here for helium. I explained that we were in the middle of a global shortage. While we were putting that particular deal together, we had basically run out, and this was an emergency stopgap purchase to keep the laboratories running.
Okay, thank you, Hugh. Are there questions from the board on this item? Seeing none then, I will make a motion to approve this item. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Mackler. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The item is approved.
Thank you.
Any additional other business?
We do have additional business. Another time-sensitive, mission-critical, item BC 2022-421, Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Children and Family Services, recommending an award to University Hospitals of Cleveland in the amount not to exceed $24,999.99 for various security-related services for the period May 11th, 2022 through December 31st, 2022.
Good morning, David Merriman, Director of the Department of Health and Human Services. I'm here on behalf of the Division of Children and Family Services. The award that we're asking for would enable us to reimburse University Hospitals of Cleveland, including Rainbow Babies and Children Hospital, for any security costs that they assume while caring for children that are seeking hospitalization. We've recently had a number of children that have been referred to University Hospital for medical services. Some of them have very serious safety concerns. They have behaviors and diagnoses that at times require that they be secured, and University Hospitals has been forced to either use overtime or at times deploy security personnel outside of the room. We've offered to cover the cost of those services, and I'm presenting the time-sensitive, mission-critical purchase to do so.
Thank you, David. Are there questions from the board on this item?
Just one.
Please.
How do we come up with a number of $24,999.99? Why isn't it just $25,000?
The time-sensitive, mission-critical authority enables us to execute a contract up to $25,000. So this is giving us the entirety of the capacity. We don't know how much the cost will be, how many children will be there. So this is in some ways acting like a not-to-exceed contract.
Do you know how much of it we will be using as soon as it's approved? Is it
We don't have any invoices. We don't have any reported bills from them. We know that they've used security officials, and they may need to use contractors. And so we know there are costs, but they have not submitted anything to us yet.
Okay. Do you anticipate you'll be back for another 25? I mean, how do you know to ask for up to 25 if you're not even sure if it's what the number is?
Well, we are working with university hospitals to understand their needs as it relates to securing these children and other supportive services. We've said to them, whatever costs they have, we will try to cover those to support them and to support their continued care for the child. I hope we won't have costs. Our goal is always to get a child out of the hospital and into a placement.
Sure.
There's a placement crisis underway where there aren't many placements available for these high needs children.
Yeah.
And so we don't know. And as much as we would like to say that we hope this will be the entirety of the need, it's not a lot of money, especially if it starts to cover overtime. And I've said to University Hospital, if it needs to be more than $24,999, let me know, and we'll come forward with a contract at a fuller dollar amount.
Right. Okay, but as of now, you have no bills, nothing to put against this. This is just being proactive in anticipating that those bills are going to come through?
That's right. Yes.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Miller.
How do we know that the charges they're gonna send us are reasonable?
So at the end of the day, the University Hospitals has responsibility to determine what staff will be providing services within their hospitals. And at this point, we've asked any charges that they would like to be applied against this contract, they should send us an invoice. We'll review them and discuss them with them. I think what we know is that there are both University Hospital police officers that are employed by them to secure their facility. We also have suggested at time if they can't use police officers, a less restrictive service may be also considered by us. So we'll consider whatever they present us as the entity that controls security for their facility.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, David. Are there any final questions from the board? Mr. Magler?
Sure, no questions, just I'm going to recuse myself.
Okay. I will make a motion to approve the item. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, and we have one recusal. Okay.
Thank you.
Moving on, any additional other business?
No other business
Any public comment?
and no public comment.
I will make a motion to adjourn. Is there a
Second.
second? Second by Councilman Miller. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.